The Zoreth Dominion was a force unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. From the moment they emerged beyond the dark edges of known space, they advanced with brutal efficiency. Whole star systems fell before the Dominion's war fleets, their tactics perfected, and their technology far beyond anything most civilizations could match. Planet after planet bent to their will, surrendering with barely a fight. To many, the Dominion seemed invincible. On the bridge of the flagship Tyrant's Wrath, Admiral Kreth observed the stars streaking past as they approached their latest target. His sharp eyes scanned the navigation displays, confident that the next world would be theirs before the sun even rose there again. The Dominion's machines of war had become legendary, overwhelming firepower, impenetrable shields, and a ruthless desire to subjugate. "Report," Kreth ordered, his voice cold and steady. "Systems online. Sensors detect no significant resistance on the surface," the lieutenant replied. "That world will fall swiftly, as all before it." Kreth allowed a rare smile. The galaxy was theirs to claim, piece by piece. News of the Dominion's rapid conquests had spread across countless star systems. Rumors circulated in dark corners of spaceports and diplomatic halls, whispers of entire civilizations wiped out in hours. The fear was palpable. Many species had already begun surrendering preemptively, hoping to negotiate mercy rather than face total destruction. But some worlds still held out. Small pockets of resistance, disorganized and desperate, offered little real threat. The Dominion crushed them without hesitation, and victory became routine. Yet, in the midst of this terrifying sweep, a blip appeared on Dominion sensors, something new, something unexpected, far beyond the heart of their conquests. In a remote system on the edge of mapped space, an unidentified vessel was detected. It was a lone warship unlike any the Dominion had cataloged before. Lieutenant Czar, monitoring the readings, frowned. "Sir, a single ship has entered the system. It's human." "Human?" Kreth's brow furrowed. Humans were considered a primitive species, barely advanced enough to launch their own spacecraft, let alone challenge the Dominion. "Are you certain?" The lieutenant nodded. "Our records confirm the signature matches known human designs. But this vessel's capabilities seem ... different." Kreth's smile vanished. "Send a message. Demand they leave immediately. This is Dominion space." The response was unexpected. A bold transmission echoed through the Dominion's comm channels. In clear and unyielding human voice, "This is the USS Resolute. You will halt your invasion or face resistance." The Tyrant's Wrath bridge fell silent. No other species had ever dared speak so brazenly to the Dominion fleet. "Prepare to engage," Kreth ordered, but unease twisted in his gut. The Resolute was unlike any warship Kreth had faced. Smaller than the massive Dominion cruisers, but agile and heavily armed for its size. It darted through the fleet with uncanny speed, dodging volleys of plasma fire and striking back with precision. The Dominion's weapons, designed to pulverize entire cities from orbit, struggled against the human ship's maneuverability and unpredictable tactics. The Resolute's captain seemed to understand the Dominion's weaknesses in a way no one else had. For hours, the battle raged with no clear victor. The Dominion's forces used to surrender grew frustrated as the human ship absorbed damage and kept fighting. The Resolute launched counterattacks that crippled smaller ships and forced larger ones into retreat. Finally, the Tyrant's Wrath ordered a withdrawal. The human warship had blocked their path, on the bridge of the Resolute. Captain Marissa Chen watched the Dominion fleet disappear beyond sensor range. Her jaw was set with determination. "This is just the beginning," she said quietly. "We're not going to let them conquer this system more or any other." Far across the galaxy in the shadow of Dominion expansion, the simple presence of a single human warship had sparked a new hope. The age of easy conquest was over. The Dominion was stunned. For centuries, they had expanded their empire with near total certainty of victory. Entire planets fell in days or weeks, their populations either enslaved or assimilated into the Dominion's vast machine. To face resistance was rare. To face it from a single human warship was unheard of. Back on the Tyrant's Wrath, Admiral Krath paced the bridge. His officers hurried with reports, data streaming in from long-range sensors. "Sir, the human vessel's technology is unfamiliar. Their engines don't match any known design," said Lieutenant Tsar, eyes glued to the glowing displays. "Their shields absorb and dissipate energy attacks far more efficiently than anticipated." "Is it possible they reverse-engineered Dominion tech?" Kreth asked sharply. "No, sir. Their weapon systems appear entirely different. Energy pulses combined with kinetic projectiles. They favor mobility and precision over brute force." Kreth's fingers clenched. The Dominion had never encountered an enemy that turned their own advantages against them so effectively. Meanwhile, deep in human space, Captain Marissa Chen stood on the Resolute's bridge, reviewing sensor data with her officers. Unlike the Dominion's massive warships, the Resolute was smaller, built for agility and multi-role combat. Every system on the ship had been pushed to the limit, its crew trained to think fast and adapt faster. "Commander Patel, status on our energy reserves?" Chen asked. "Full capacity, Captain. We've managed to reroute power from non-essential systems to the shields and weapons. We're ready for whatever comes next." Marissa nodded. "Good. The Dominion will be back, and they won't come quietly this time." The human captain's mind raced through strategy. The Dominion's previous targets were defenseless worlds, easy to overwhelm. The humans could not hope to match the Dominion's sheer numbers or firepower in a head-on battle. Their best chance was to use cunning, terrain, and unpredictability to even the odds. "Prepare to broadcast a message to the nearby colonies," Chen ordered. "Tell them to organize resistance cells and avoid large-scale engagements until we arrive. We're buying time." Back on the Tyrant's Wrath, Admiral Kreth activated the ship's long-range communication array. "Send a message to High Command," he said grimly. "Inform them of the situation. The humans are not what we expected. We need reinforcements and new tactics." The Dominion's supreme leaders, confident in their empire's dominance, were initially dismissive. But as the reports multiplied of the Resolute evading capture, disrupting supply lines, and inspiring local resistance, concern grew. On a conference platform thousands of light-years away, the Dominion's High Council convened. Their leader, the cold and calculating Overlord Vashtor, studied the reports carefully. "Humans are unpredictable," Vashtor said, voice echoing in the chamber. "Their technology is inferior, but their tactics and morale defy reason. This is unlike anything we have faced. We should crush them immediately with overwhelming force," urged a council member. "Perhaps," Vashtor replied, "but brute force alone has failed. We must understand them if we hope to defeat them. Send science teams to analyze their technology and gather intelligence on their behavior. We cannot afford to underestimate humanity." Meanwhile, on the Outer Rim, worlds caught between the Dominion's advance and human resistance, hope began to blossom. Colonists who had long feared the coming invasion found courage in the Resolute stand at a small rebel outpost on the jungle planet of Velta. A local leader named Jorik spoke to a crowd of volunteers. "The humans fight like no one else," he told them. "They show us that even the mightiest empire can be challenged. We will no longer hide or submit. We will fight for our homes." Back on the Resolute, Captain Chen felt the weight of responsibility pressing down. She was a single ship, a small force against a galactic empire. But she carried the hope of many. Her crew prepared for the inevitable next battle, knowing that this was only the beginning of a war that would shake the stars. "Keep your heads clear and your fire true," Chen said, her voice steady but fierce. "We may be outnumbered, but we are not outmatched. Humanity does not give up." The message echoed in the hearts of those who heard it, lighting a spark that could ignite a galaxy-wide rebellion. The Resolute slid silently through the void, its sleek hull a sharp contrast to the bulkier, jagged lines of the Dominion fleet that had begun to gather nearby. Captain Marissa Chen stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the viewscreen where dozens of enemy ships shimmered into sensor range. "Admiral Kreth isn't going to forget this slight," Chen said quietly. "They'll send everything they have next time." Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Amir Patel, tapped the console. "Their main fleet is larger than before, twice the number of cruisers, plus destroyers and frigates, are surrounding the system to trap us." "Good," Chen replied with a steely smile. "We don't need to run. We just need to make them regret their decision." The Dominion warships spread across the starfield, their formation tight and menacing. Kreth's flagship, the Tyrant's Wrath, held the center with its massive turrets glowing ominously. Sensors picked up dozens of smaller vessels ready to swarm. "Status report," Chen said. "We're at full combat readiness," Patel answered. "Shields stable, weapon systems charged. Engines primed for evasive maneuvers." The Resolute was outgunned by every measure. But Chen's advantage was in speed, strategy, and unpredictability. The Dominion commanders expected a straightforward battle, a quick display of power. They hadn't faced an enemy who fought like humans did. "Prepare for evasive pattern Delta," Chen ordered. "Keep them guessing," as the Dominion fleet opened fire. Streaks of plasma and energy beams tore across space. The Resolute twisted and dipped, weaving through the onslaught with uncanny agility. Dominon gunners cursed as their shots missed by fractions of a second. "Target the frigates." On our port side, Chen commanded. "We take those out, first reduce their numbers." The human ship's weapons responded with rapid-fire bursts, striking one frigate after another. Explosions bloomed in space as enemy ships broke apart. But the Dominion fleet adapted quickly. Larger cruisers focused concentrated fire on the Resolute, testing its shields and armor, shields holding at 75%, Patel reported. "Sustaining damage, but we're still operational." Chen's mind raced, calculating her next move. She needed to hit the enemy's command ship, the Tyrant's Wrath, to shake their fleet's morale. Divert power to engines. Prepare for a high-speed strike run. The Resolute surged forward, threading through debris and laser fire. Dominion ships opened up with everything they had. But the human captain's daring maneuver caused chaos in their ranks. As the Resolute closed in, Chen ordered a barrage of precision torpedoes aimed at the flagship's shield generators. Explosions rippled through the Tyrant's Wrath, causing the Dominion's command bridge to flicker with emergency alarms. Kreth's voice came over their comms, cold and furious. "You're a pest that won't die, human. But this ends now." The Dominion flagship unleashed a devastating plasma beam, locking onto the Resolute's position. Chen ordered a sharp turn, narrowly evading the attack that would have torn the ship apart. "We can't keep this up forever," Patel warned. "They're coordinating better now." Chen nodded. "We don't need forever. Just enough to make them break." The Resolute launched a series of decoys, confusing Dominion sensors and forcing the fleet to scatter fire. In the chaos, small human fighter drones swarmed from hidden bays, harassing enemy ships and forcing them to split their attention. A chorus of alarms sounded as Dominion frigates exploded in rapid succession. The Resolute's hit-and-run tactics began to take a toll. Suddenly, A massive explosion rocked the Dominion formation, the flagship's shields faltered, and its engines slowed. Direct hit on the tyrant's wrath, Patel said with a hint of disbelief. Kreth's voice cracked over the com, desperation breaking through. Fall back, regroup. Don't let that ship escape. The Dominion fleet started to pull away. Their confident advance broken for the first time. Chen allowed herself a small smile. They're retreating. The Resolute chased for a moment before Captain Chen gave the order to pull back. We've made our point, she said. But the war is far from over. As the enemy ships vanished into the darkness, the crew of the Resolute shared a moment of quiet triumph. They had stood against the unstoppable conquerors and survived. But Captain Chen knew this victory was only the beginning. The Dominion would return stronger, more determined, and humanity had to be ready. Back on the tyrant's wrath, the Dominion's bridge was a hive of tension. Admiral Kreth stood silently, staring at the flickering displays of the retreating Resolute. The bold human ship had not only survived, but had dealt a critical blow to his flagship's defenses. Report, Kreth demanded, but his officers had little new to offer. Our sensors cannot fully analyze the Resolute's technology, Lieutenant Tsar said. Its propulsion systems differ fundamentally from known designs. Its weapons use energy signatures we have never seen before, combined with physical projectiles. Kreth frowned. We know their ships are smaller, less powerful, but they survive, adapt, and strike with precision. How? The Dominion's scientific teams worked around the clock to study the humans. Drones were dispatched to scan the wreckage from the last battle, but the Resolute was always several steps ahead, disappearing before they could close in. Meanwhile, on the human side, Captain Marissa Chen reviewed incoming data with her science officer, Dr. Alina Marquez. Our tech isn't perfect, Alina admitted, but humans have an edge in adaptability. We improvise under pressure, think creatively. The Dominion relies on overwhelming force and rigid command structures. That's their weakness. Chen nodded. They expect predictable enemies. We're anything but. The humans' fighting style baffled the Dominion. Instead of large fleets hammering their enemies with sheer power, the Resolute and its small contingent used guerrilla tactics. Hit hard where it hurt, then vanish. Protect civilians and supply routes. Turn the conquered worlds into battlegrounds where the Dominion's size worked against them. Reports from recently liberated colonies reinforced the human influence. Local leaders spoke of human officers training resistance fighters, sharing knowledge and inspiring hope in the shadow of the Dominion's once impervious empire. A new force was rising. Back on the tyrant's wrath, Admiral Kreth gathered his senior staff. We must understand what drives these humans, he said. Not just their ships and weapons, but their mindset. Why do they fight so fiercely when survival is at stake? What makes them different from every other species we've conquered? One officer suggested, perhaps it's their social structure. They seem to value individuality and initiative, yet work well as a team. Exactly, Kreth replied. We have faced many species who surrendered or fought only to preserve their own lives. Humans fight for something more: family, freedom, belief. We must study their culture as much as their technology. As the Dominion poured resources into intelligence efforts, humans on the front lines faced their own challenges. The weight of expectation rested heavily on Captain Chen and her crew. The Resolute was not just a warship. It was a symbol at a makeshift command center on the desert planet Arden. Human and local leaders planned their next moves. We can't let the Dominion regain control, said Jorik, a fierce rebel leader from Velta. The humans showed us how to fight. Now we have to stand with them. Captain Chen listened carefully. Your people have courage and knowledge of your worlds. Together, we can slow the Dominion's advance and protect the innocent. The alliance was fragile, but growing. different. Species united by a common enemy and the hope sparked by humanity's defiance. On the Dominion side, Overlord Vastor convened a secret meeting. "We underestimated humanity," he declared. "But we will not repeat this mistake. Our spies will infiltrate their ranks. Our scientists will uncover their secrets. And our fleets will crush their rebellion." "Humans rely on unpredictability," Vastor said, his eyes burning with cold fire. "We will counter with overwhelming intelligence and strategic patience." The galaxy held its breath in the void between stars. Two very different forces prepared for a war that would reshape the future. One fought with overwhelming might and centuries of dominance. The other with courage, adaptability, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. The next phase of the conflict was about to begin. The galaxy would never be the same. The spark that the USS Resolute had ignited began to blaze across the Outer Rim worlds. What started as scattered pockets of defiance now grew into coordinated resistance. The human warship was more than just a fighter. It had become a symbol of hope for those who had only known fear. On the jungle moon of Velta, once a quiet backwater, rebel forces now trained under the guidance of human officers. Captain Marissa Chen had dispatched her tactical teams to share strategies, teach guerrilla warfare, and help locals adapt scavenged Dominion technology. The transformation was rapid. Discipline and innovation, Chen told a group of fighters. "Use what you have. Hit fast, then vanish before they can respond." Jorik, the local leader, nodded grimly. "For years, we cowered. Now we fight, and with you, we might win." The Dominion responded with brutal crackdowns. Patrol fleets enforced curfews, bombarded suspected hideouts, and hunted rebel leaders. But every time they struck, resistance cells scattered and reformed elsewhere, striking unexpectedly and eroding Dominion control. On the tyrant's wrath, Admiral Kreth seethed as reports came in. Resistance activity has increased by 50% in the last month alone, Lieutenant Czar reported. "Their use of hit-and-run tactics frustrates our forces. They disrupt supply lines and destroy critical infrastructure." Kreth slammed his fist on the console. "They are turning conquered worlds into traps. We must crush them before their influence spreads further." Overlord Vastor convened the High Council again, this time with a harsher tone. "These humans inspire rebellion. If we lose control of the Outer Rim, our entire expansion is at risk. We need a new strategy, one that breaks their spirit and destroys their allies." He ordered the deployment of specialized units, elite Dominion forces trained for counterinsurgency and infiltration. They would root out resistance cells from within, severing the fragile alliances the humans had forged. Meanwhile, the Resolute was not alone. Other human ships began arriving, smaller but equally determined. Fleet reinforcements, sent from Earth and human colonies, brought fresh supplies, weapons, and experienced crews. Captain Chen coordinated with these new arrivals, planning daring raids against Dominion bases. Their objective was clear: disrupt the enemy's control and buy time for resistance to grow stronger. One mission targeted a Dominion communication hub on the icy world of Glacia Prime. Using stealth and precision strikes, human forces disabled the relay station, cutting off Dominion fleets from command for hours. "That's the kind of impact we need," Chen told her crew afterward. "Every success chips away at their power." The Dominion retaliated fiercely. On several occasions, they lured human ships into ambushes, inflicting losses. But each time, humans adapted, learning from their mistakes. On one such patrol, Lieutenant Patel reflected on the battle. "We're fighting an enemy with centuries of experience and a massive fleet," he said. "But they can't match our willingness to think differently." "Exactly," Chen replied. "They see us as unpredictable. That's our greatest weapon. In the colonies, ordinary people began to take a stand. Factory workers sabotaged Dominion supply lines. Scientists leaked valuable information. Pilots volunteered for dangerous missions. The human spirit, stubborn, defiant, and resourceful, spread like wildfire. On the planet Arden, a former Dominion garrison fell to combined human and rebel forces after a fierce battle. Today, we proved the Dominion is not invincible, Chen said in a broadcast to the galaxy. Together, we will reclaim our freedom. Her words ignited hope. Cross-star systems, oppressed populations listened, inspired to rise up. But the Dominion was far from defeated. Overlord Vashtor studied the growing rebellion and planned his next move. If brute force failed, then manipulation, deception, and psychological warfare would follow. The war was entering a new, more dangerous phase, one where every victory came at a price, and the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. The war had entered a darker phase. The Dominion's overwhelming military might had not crushed the rebellion. So they turned to a more insidious form of warfare: espionage, sabotage, and deception. The once clear battle lines blurred as spies infiltrated human colonies and resistance cells, turning friends into enemies and hope into doubt. Captain Marisa Chen sat in the dim command center of the Resolute, reviewing intelligence reports. With a growing sense of unease, their carefully built network was under attack from within. Several of our informants have disappeared, Lieutenant Amir Patel said grimly. And we've intercepted Dominion transmissions revealing plans to infiltrate our command. Chen's jaw tightened. We knew this was coming. But we have to root out the traitors before they do more damage. The Resolute's crew doubled down on security protocols. Trust was a precious commodity now, carefully guarded. Paranoia crept into conversations, and every new arrival was scrutinized. Meanwhile, deep within the Dominion's secret intelligence division, the shadowy agent Victal prepared his next move. His mission: infiltrate the human resistance, gather critical intelligence, and dismantle it from the inside. Victal was a master of disguise and deception. Fluent in human languages and customs, he had already infiltrated several colonies, sowing discord and mistrust. On a mining colony called Horos 7, Victal approached a resistance leader under the guise of a refugee. "My name is Soren," he said quietly. "I've escaped Dominion forces. I want to help." The resistance, desperate for allies, welcomed him with cautious hope. Back on the Resolute, Chen received troubling reports from Horosa 7. "There's been infighting," a field operative reported. "Sabotage, accusations. The colony's resistance is fracturing." Chen knew the signs. Victal is working his poison. We need to act fast. She ordered a covert team to investigate Horosavan, searching for evidence of infiltration. Trust had to be rebuilt, or the rebellion would crumble. At the same time, the Dominion escalated their psychological warfare. Propaganda broadcasts flooded. Human systems portraying the resistance as violent extremists who endangered innocent civilians. False flag operations blamed human rebels for attacks on neutral worlds, aiming to fracture alliances. Yet, through the shadows and lies, humanity's resolve hardened. Captain Chen addressed her crew during a rare moment of calm. "We are fighting not just for survival, but for the soul of the galaxy," she said. "We will not be broken by spies or lies. Our strength lies in unity and truth." Her words bolstered morale. The Resolute prepared for a critical mission to uncover the full extent of Dominion infiltration and expose Victal's network. The team deployed to Horosavan moved swiftly and discreetly. Using careful interrogation and forensic analysis, they began to unravel the web of deception. Meanwhile, Victil sensed his cover was threatened. He accelerated plans to disrupt the Resistance's command structures on a remote outpost. His agents sabotaged communication arrays, plunging the rebels into isolation. Back on the Resolute, Q received the grim update. We're losing contact. With several key colonies, Patel reported. The Dominion spies are succeeding. Chen's eyes burned with determination. We fight in the open and the shadows, she said. We adapt, we survive. The Dominion may control many stars, but they will never control our spirit. In the depths of space, the war was no longer just about ships and weapons. It was a battle of minds, loyalty, and courage, as the Resolute's crew worked tirelessly to root out betrayal. They knew the true test of humanity's resilience was only beginning. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the shadows deepened and the fate of many worlds hung in the balance. The shadows that had haunted the rebellion began to lift, but at a cost. Thanks to the relentless work of Captain Marissa Chen and her team, Victil's network of spies was unraveling. One by one, the Dominion's covert agents were exposed and captured, their webs of deceit torn apart. On the barren planet of Haroza 7, a major resistance gathering was underway. Local leaders, human commanders, and representatives from allied species assembled to plan the next phase of the war. Hope surged among them, fueled by recent victories and the knowledge that the Dominion spies no longer had free rein. Captain Chen addressed the council via secure transmission. We've broken the Dominion's grip in many places, she said firmly, but their forces remain vast. Now, we must strike harder, faster. Our goal is to force the Dominion to reconsider this war. Jorik, the fierce rebel leader from Velta, nodded. We've gained ground, but the Dominion's strength is still overwhelming. What's our advantage? Chen smiled. Our advantage is something they can't match. Human ingenuity, determination, and the unity of our coalition. Back on the tyrant's wrath, Admiral Kreth seethed with frustration. The Dominion's carefully laid plans had been shattered, their empire's facade cracked. Yet they refused to surrender. We cannot allow these rebels to inspire a galaxy-wide uprising, Kreth declared. Prepare the fleet. We will launch a decisive offensive, a strike so devastating it will crush hope and break their will. The Dominion's ships gathered in unprecedented numbers, targeting the key human stronghold on the planet. Arden, the fleet's immense firepower threatened to overwhelm the defenders and reclaim lost ground the Resolute and its allies prepared for battle. Chen coordinated with fleet commanders, devising a plan that relied on precision strikes, deception, and rapid maneuvers. Our goal is to protect the colonies, not just survive, Chen told her crew. This fight will test everything we have. As the Dominion fleet arrived, the space above Arden erupted into chaos. Energy beams flashed, missiles streaked through the void, and warships danced a deadly ballet. The humans fought with fierce resolve, striking critical Dominion vessels while avoiding prolonged engagements at one critical moment. The Resolute executed a daring move, using the planet's dense atmosphere as cover. It launched a surprise assault on the Dominion's command ship. Captain Chen's voice rang out over the comms. Focus all firepower on the tyrant's wrath. This is our chance to break their chain of command. The flagship took heavy damage, its shields faltering under the human assault. Admiral Kreth barked orders to his crew, but the tide had turned. In the midst of battle, Jorik led a ground assault on Dominion forces occupying Arden's surface. Armed with human technology and hardened by months of resistance, his fighters pushed back fiercely. For the first time, the Dominion's grip on the Outer Rim showed signs of crumbling. As the battle raged, Chen made a critical decision. Rather than pursue the retreating fleet, she ordered a strategic withdrawal. We can't win by attrition, she told her officers. We win by making them bleed where it hurts and then disappearing. The Resolute slipped away into the stars, battered but undefeated. The Dominion fleet, though damaged, still posed a massive threat. But the human coalition's resolve had never been stronger. Across the galaxy, oppressed worlds saw the battle's outcome as proof that the Dominion was not invincible. Resistance movements swelled with new volunteers and resources. In the quiet aftermath, Captain Chen reflected on the cost of victory. "We've won a battle, not the war," she said. "The Dominion will regroup, but so will we. This fight is for the soul of every world caught in the shadow of conquest." Back aboard the Tyrant's Wrath, Admiral Kreth stared out at the stars with a grim expression. "The humans have changed the game," he admitted. "They fight with heart and mind, something the Dominion never prepared for." The war's next chapter would demand more than weapons and ships. It would require sacrifices, alliances, and unbreakable spirit. As the galaxy braced for what was to come, one thing was clear. Humanity had shifted the balance of power. The Dominion would never be the same. The war had stretched across light years and countless battles. The Dominion, once seemingly unstoppable, now faced a galaxy united against their rule. The Resolute stood at the heart of that resistance, battered but unbroken. Carrying the hopes of countless worlds, Captain Marissa Chen looked out at the stars from the bridge, the cold void reflecting in her eyes. Behind her, the hum of the ships. Engines was steady, a reminder that humanity's fight was far from over. Captain, Lieutenant Patel approached, voice quiet. "We've received messages from several newly liberated systems. They're ready to join the coalition." Chen smiled, a rare moment of relief. "Their courage inspires us all. We fight not just for survival, but for the future." In the months since the battle over Arden, the Dominion's grip had loosened. Rebel cells blossomed into organized militias. Alliances formed between species long oppressed. The galaxy's darkness was giving way to light. Admiral Kreth, aboard the damaged Tyrant's Wrath, convened a final council. The Dominion leadership was fractured and weary. The once confident empire now faced an uncertain future. "The humans have shown us the power of hope and unity," Kreth said solemnly. "We may have ruled by fear, but they fight for freedom." Overlord Vashtor's voice crackled over the comm, colder than ever. "Our empire may fall, but we will not surrender. The galaxy's destiny is yet to be decided." But even as Dominion forces prepared for one last stand, the galaxy had already shifted irreversibly on the newly formed capital world of New Terra. A diverse assembly gathered to forge a new future. Humans, Veltans, Galatians, and many others stood side by side. Representatives of a coalition born from struggle and sacrifice. Captain Chen stood before them. Not as a soldier, but as a symbol of resilience. "We have faced overwhelming odds," she said, voice steady. "We have seen darkness and despair. But through it all, humanity's spirit and the spirit of all free peoples has endured." She looked out over the crowd. "This is not just the end of a war. It is the beginning of a new era. One where no species is ruled by another, where cooperation and respect guide us." The crowd erupted in cheers, far from the celebrations. Remnants of the Dominion slipped into the shadows, plotting their return. But for the first time, they were no longer the galaxy's masters. The Resolute prepared for its next mission, exploring new worlds, securing peace, and defending the fragile hope they had kindled. As Captain Chen gazed toward the stars, she felt the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. The galaxy was vast, its future unwritten. But one truth remained clear. Humanity had shown that even the mightiest conquerors could be stopped by courage, unity, and the unbreakable will to fight for freedom. And that was only the beginning.